Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar presentation. My name is Jamie Sullivan. I am the marketing manager here at Leostream, and today we will be discussing 5 reasons to think outside the traditional VDI box. So today I am joined by 3 great presenters. I am joined by Leostream CEO, Karen Gondoli, Teradici Director of Product Management, Mirella Giugnalo, and Ron Cox, who is the Senior Systems Engineer at DewPoint, and they will be taking us through this presentation. So just to give you an idea of where we're heading today, we're going to start with an overview of exactly what it means to think outside the traditional VDI model. And then, as promised, we will let you in on our top 5 reasons why it's never been a better time to start exploring new options for deploying VDI. Then we are so excited to introduce Ron from DewPoint IT Services. He's going to take us through his journey to DIY VDI for a client moving their VDI solution from an on-premises environment up into the cloud. And finally, we will indeed leave some time at the end for Q&A with Karen and Mirella. And with that, I am going to turn the presentation over to Mirella Teradici.
Thank you, Jamie. I'll start by giving you a little bit of an overview of who Teradici is as a company. We developed a protocol called PCORIP, which is highly responsive remoting of your desktop and workstations. And we have recently enhanced that with PCORIP Ultra features, which I'll mention a little bit later as well. Today, we have over 13 million users using our technology worldwide, and 3 million of them are utilizing PCORIP 0 clients as their endpoint devices. I'll explain what those are later as well. We work with customers across many different industries. That's from government, federal, military, media, entertainment, manufacturing, finance, education. Every vertical you can think of is using our technology. We also are very partner focused. We work with major technology partners like Leostream with the goal to provide the best possible solutions to our end users. Next.
Great, thanks, Mirella. So now a little bit about Leostream. This is Karen. So I'm guessing that some of you may not be as familiar with Leostream, but we've actually been in the business of managing hosted desktop environments for over 15 years now. Over that time, our core mission really has always been to provide the best remote access platform for whatever sort of environment you want to build. So to do that, we've remained vendor agnostic to the hosting platform. So you can build the solution that works best for you, whether that be on premises, in the cloud, or maybe even a mixture of the two. I find that I'm pretty much always pestering development to add support for new technologies as they come into play. But our vendor neutral approach, it extends to the other side of the VDI stack, to the display protocol as well. We think you should get to choose which display protocol works best for you and not be pigeonholed into whatever technology is built into a particular VDI stack. That's just one of the reasons we're excited about this partnership we have with Teradici, because it gives our customers a high performance display protocol that matches well with Leostream's vendor neutral approach to the entire VDI stack. So you don't really see it on the slide, but similar to Teradici, we work in all of the different verticals that you'll see with customers all around the globe. So whether that be financial services, oil and gas, media, entertainment, really you name it. And we're already deployed alongside Teradici's technologies in these on-premises and cloud environments. And you'll hear about one of those deployments later in this webinar. But first, let's dive into our discussion on why you should think outside of the traditional VDI box. So to set the stage, let me tell you what we kind of consider is the traditional VDI model. As a little history, traditional VDI sprouted up as a new workload to run on virtualization platforms, developed originally for virtual servers. Everyone loved the benefits they reaped from virtualizing their servers, so it was natural to want to virtualize even more. Not really surprisingly, it was VMware who coined the term VDI back around 2006, and it was really at that time an alternative to Microsoft and Citrix's server-based computing models. You know, the things they now call remote desktop services, but I still call terminal services. Generally, in traditional VDI, people think of their virtual desktops as either persistent or non-persistent. And if you think of that, a persistent desktop is similar to your physical laptop. You own it, you can customize it, and really it just always stays however you left it. A non-persistent desktop, on the other hand, that's a clone of a master image that's offered to a user from a pool of identical desktops. Then when the user finishes their work, non-persistent VMs re-image back to that nice clean master image. But as we thought about it more, we thought, well, who decided on those two models? How did we get sorted into either a persistent or non-persistent desktop world? Well, it's because that's how the single vendor traditional VDI stacks were designed. You deployed their virtualization stacks in your data center, you built pools that were either persistent or non-persistent, you assigned users, and then off you went. Now, I do have a usability background, and I'm sure there are research reasons for those two models, and they do have benefits. It's easier for IT to update operating systems and applications just on master images, and your data stays secure in the data center. These are, the drill here. These are the common VDI benefits. But you probably have also heard about all the common VDI pitfalls as well. Traditional VDI, as delivered in a full stack, is complicated and it's costly. What if you don't have a staff that's skilled in building and maintaining one of those full stack solutions? And what if you need to work outside of those two models? Historically, that meant traditional VDI just wasn't for you. And we know that many of you out there haven't deployed traditional VDI. And how do we know this? Well, every year we start the year and we hear, this is the year of VDI, but it never actually has been. If you believe the folks at FS Logic, only about 8% of the Windows desktop market is virtualized. And if you want to read more about that, I'm happy to share the link to the article after the webinar. Anyway, thankfully, now is the perfect time to look beyond the traditional VDI stack. And here's a little bit about why. The vendor-agnostic hybrid cloud approach that Leostream and Teradici have touted for years, really, it's ready for the big time now. Since VMware coined the term VDI, the industry has matured and expanded, so you now have more options than ever on where and how you build your VDI environment. And why not try incorporating a public cloud? To that point, it's not just Amazon in the game anymore. You can turn to Azure, Google Cloud Platform, or any number of smaller cloud providers. Well, what if you want an easier way to deploy virtualization in your data center? In that case, why not invest in one of the many hyperconverged infrastructure options that are out there now? A hyperconverged infrastructure takes less staff to configure and maintain, and that can ultimately save you money. While we're talking about money, well, how do you feel about lowering your licensing costs? Here's where open source technologies such as KVM hypervisors or OpenStack can help. The key here is that there really never has been a better time to design your own VDI solution instead of rolling in a one-size-fits-all stack. So now let's tell you a little bit about why we say that. Right, everyone loves the top 5 list. So let's look at our top 5 reasons to think outside of the traditional VDI box. Number 1, unstack yourself. Essentially, this is what we've been talking about up to this point. On the left there, you see the different components that make up the typical traditional VDI stack. In traditional VDI, you purchase this full stack from a single vendor, and the stack includes your virtualization layer, connection broker and display protocol, maybe some profile management, the whole works. But when you unstack yourself, you pick and choose the pieces of the stack from the vendors and for the use cases that work best for you. Maybe that means leveraging the virtualization platforms you already have while adding in some public cloud. Maybe that means investing in a hyperconverged infrastructure. The key here is we think the future is hybrid because there really is no one-size-fits-all hosting platform. Another key then is to find the components for the rest of the stack that support this hybrid approach. Obviously at Leostream, we have a connection broker layer covered, but you need to find a display protocol that supports this level of flexibility as well. And so to talk about that, I'll hand it over to our expert, Mirella.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, as Karen said, to be able to leverage all the goodness of agnostic, vendor-agnostic virtualization infrastructure and the benefits of that, including the guest operating system, the remoting protocol is used to access those applications and that stuff has to be flexible as well. With PCRP technology as part of our cloud access software product line, we support public clouds, on-premises infrastructure. On-premises can be virtualized with ESXi hypervisor or KVM hypervisor, can be ACI, can be not virtualized, can be physical workstations, lots of options to choose from so that you can build an environment that best suits your business. And this goes into the guest operating system as well, meaning if you have users that need to be on Windows, you have users that need to be on Linux, some need a GPU, some don't need the GPU, all that flexibility is built in, allowing you to virtualize all of your users in whatever environment best suits their needs. Jamie, can you move on to the next slide, please? Okay, and the second reason to think outside of the traditional VDI model is to improve disaster recovery. So in general, business continuity is essential for most businesses. Downtime can result in a lot of revenue loss. It can impact a reputation of a business. And what we've found, there's a survey which I can share later called Cloud Endure. It says that 71% of businesses have reported some sort of downtime event in their last year. And there's many reasons for it. It could be power outage, it could be natural disasters, it could be virus attacks, network issues, and more. And that's why a lot of CIOs list security and disaster recovery as a top priority for their businesses to work well. The same survey also said that almost half of the companies who have a disaster recovery solution do so using a public cloud for their target site, disaster recovery target site. While another percentage, about 15%, use physical machines and about 40% use private clouds. Managing an on-premises site can be quite expensive and complex to manage. So there's a reason why there's such a high percentage of users that use public cloud for disaster recovery. A couple of the reasons for that is it's pay only when you need it. So you use the disaster recovery site and you pay for it only when disaster strikes. So that's when you pay for it. It's less complex to set up because the infrastructure in a public cloud is already there for you. You just have to build on top of it, enable it, create your workstations on top of it, for example. And you might have a really complicated environment where you're a global organization, you have sites all over the world, and they all need some sort of a disaster recovery solution. So in those scenarios, instead of having multiple DR on-premises sites that you have to manage, you can do that much easier by using the public cloud. And finally, public clouds are just naturally offer high availability. That's a major value add of public clouds. So with disaster recovery and solution, when users, customers are looking for means and ways how to do disaster recovery, one ask from some industries, some types of groups within certain industries is that their disaster recovery strategy has to use different vendors than what they use on their primary site. So if the primary, for example, if the primary site uses PCOP0 clients, so with our technology, connecting to VMware Horizon, for example, they may have a mandate where the secondary site has to be another technology. So it can be reusing those zero clients to connect to a public cloud DR site that's running PCOP Cloud Access software and being brokered by Leostream. So that's an option for them. And another factor to consider when choosing disaster recovery and disaster recovery options for your business is cost. As I said previously, just utilizing public cloud in general, you save in cost because it's based on consumption. You pay only when you need it. Another part of cost savings is that you want to be able to transfer your software licenses to the secondary site. So with Cloud Access software, if your primary site is using Cloud Access software, your secondary site will use those same licenses. You don't need to buy a second set of licenses. And in addition to that, around cost, Karen can augment more how a broker helps with cost savings.
Right, yeah, and it speaks to the point Mirella made about how in the cloud you pay for consumption. So the key is to make sure you're only consuming cloud when you're actually going through a DR event. And that's where a connection broker can help you because it can automate spinning up the instances in the cloud when they're needed and then tearing them back down when the user is done. And so that way you can actually automatically keep your cloud costs from kind of spinning out of control by not having the DR site up and running until you actually need it. All right, so on to number 3, support edge locations. I guess to start, I should make sure everyone's on the same page as to what we mean by the edge, in air quotes. Our partners at Scale Computing gave me what I think is a great definition. They called the edge any place where mission-critical workloads are performed outside of the corporate data center. So for you, maybe your edge is out on an oil rig. Maybe it's actually at an automotive test course, or perhaps it's just one branch of a nationwide bank. The key here is that your users are doing their work outside of your data center, so maybe you should consider giving them access to a hosted desktop that's not in your data center as well. You might want to use a hyperconverged infrastructure at your edge location, or you could look at leveraging the public cloud here as well. Between the 3 major public cloud vendors, you can likely find a region near your users just about anywhere they roam. So try using the cloud and region that's closest to your users to lower the latency and provide the best user experience. Then leverage a connection broker like Leostream to give all your users a single point of access to their hosted resources. And when it comes right down to it, your users don't care where their desktop is hosted, they just need access to it. By using Leostream to manage the remote access, the user is never actually exposed to the hosting platform. But you as IT, you can switch users to new cloud regions as they move around the globe, and the broker will automate that for them. But of course, moving users and their workloads to the edge poses challenges when it comes to performance and security. And to talk about that, I'm going to defer to Marilla.
Yeah, I will say that in general, the way PCOP was designed is that we aim to provide the best user experience, even in varying network conditions. So we'll automatically adjust whatever the condition is, and we also work well in environments that have larger latencies. So that, in turn, gives you a lot of flexibility on what your edge location is going to be. Users, wherever they are, if they're accessing the data, they want to access the data, they need to access the data securely. And PCOP, the way it works, it never transmits any data to that client device, whatever that client device is, be it a zero client or software client, data never gets transmitted. What we do is we encode the desktop, encrypt it using AES-256 encryption, and then decrypt only the pixels on the screen for the user, so no data ever gets transferred. And if you're using PCOP zero clients, those client devices, they do not have an application operating system on them, so there's never any data stored on them at all. So if somebody were to steal that device, there's nothing on it that they could gain from your organization. Okay, moving on to number 4. Adopt a hybrid or multi-cloud strategy. So Teradici has done a survey across many differently sized companies, from small to very large, to see what their multi-cloud strategy is. And 54% of respondents in this survey said they operate already in a multi-cloud environment. And it means many things. It could mean multiple public clouds, it could be a public cloud and on-premises, could be a public cloud and a off-site private data center, etc. It's a mix of those. Another report, it's called RightScale State of the Cloud Report. It's a 2019 report, indicates that 84% of users have a multi-cloud strategy. So even if they don't have it right now, 84% of them have the strategy to move to multi-cloud over the next couple of years. So why would somebody want to even utilize the public cloud? So there's lots of benefits that are listed here. One big one is pay-as-you-go pricing, which we've mentioned before. So you only get the resources that you need, and if you don't need them anymore, you shut them down, you delete them, you don't pay for them anymore. So you end up trading CapEx for OpEx model. It also improves collaboration. So if you have a lot of users within your organization that are distributed, it could be across a single city, a single country, all over the world, they need to be able to work together and collaborate together. When you have a public cloud solution, everything's centralized and they access their data, their content in the same place, and that enables better collaboration on that data. It also enables better work-life balance. So wherever people are, if they're traveling, working from home, if it's, for example, in architecture, engineering, construction, they need to go on site to look at they're working on a model, 3D model, and go on site to see progress of construction. They can access it from there and collaborate well with their users. So lots of benefits from utilizing a cloud model for remote desktops and workstations. Also, on a public cloud, you can very easily spin up and down resources. Leostream's broker helps a lot with this, where you can automate spinning up and down resources, turn them off if you don't use them anymore. Lots of benefits there. And public cloud limits vectors of attack by hosting the data somewhere else. So it's not on your premises, it's somewhere else. So there are also many benefits why you'd want to not just use the public cloud, but also why you'd want to go multi-cloud, not just a single cloud. One big reason is that you will have all kinds of users in your environment. You'll have maybe full-time workers who work on the same content, on same desktops all the time, and you already have infrastructure in place. It's best to keep them on premises because you already have the infrastructure. But then you might have other use cases like contractors coming and going, third-party vendors. You might have project-based employees that come and go. And for those sort of scenarios, it's ideal to essentially burst into the cloud. You expand your local data center, your on-premises data center into the cloud. And this is a hybrid environment. And it's very, very common. It's the most common way to do multi-cloud is to have on-premises and a public cloud. Companies utilize multiple infrastructures and multiple clouds also to avoid any sort of vendor lock-in. So they want to essentially use whatever cloud offers them the best performance, the best price, the best cost savings, the best region availability. So that's why they have multiple clouds. So you could have, for example, you may need to use the latest technology, latest GPU technology. Well, maybe one public cloud has that GPU available much sooner than another public cloud. So you get to benefit from, latest technologies being released. In terms of performance, you might have users all over the world, and a particular set of users is in a region of the world that has a GCP region nearby. So you have really good latency, really good performance for those users. But for example, a Azure region is not close to there. So but you have another region where Azure is closer. So by doing multi-cloud, you can really optimize performance for your users. And then I mentioned also reduced price risks and also cost savings. Public clouds price things differently, and they change over time. By having a hybrid or multi-cloud strategy, you can just benefit from the best prices and enable cost savings that way as well. It also helps with uptime and disaster recovery. So you might, like I said earlier, when I talked about disaster recovery, you might be on premises normally, but your public cloud strategy is purely for disaster recovery, and generally gives you that extra uptime benefit that you might need for your business. Another thing I just wanted to comment here is that a obstacle that we've seen with companies that start to go down the multi-cloud strategy is training. Staff needs to be trained to be able to run and support in these different environments. They have to be familiar with different public clouds, with that, bursting scenario, hybrid scenario. So it's training would definitely be necessary for this to work well. Another one is just which is related to that, is that complexity of managing these different environments. And you might have, let's say, AWS, GCP, and Azure, all three of them. So you would have to manage AWS the way AWS console, you'd have to use Azure console, portal. They're all slightly different from each other, and so that is what adds complexity to managing your environment. But the Leostream broker would help you with that, and helps both the IT management part of it as well as user experience continuity. And Karen, you could maybe explain a little bit further how the broker helps with this.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well in that it's, the nice thing about a broker and a hybrid or multi-cloud strategy is it's a single access portal for all your users, and then it's also a single management portal for the IT administration. So it just really makes it easier. You're not switching from management console to management console to perform, the basic tasks of rebooting machines and provisioning out machines and things like that. I'm going to move to our last point here, which is all about saving money. This is what everyone's most important thing that people want to talk about. So obviously, once you move out of traditional VDI, we talked about unstacking yourself. So the no-brainer here is that you save money by not licensing that full stack VDI solution. The licensing fees associated with those full stack solutions have really grown over time as they expanded their feature set. And really, not everybody uses all those features. So why are you paying for the whole license? Why are you paying the license fee for all those features when we find that you can lower your fees when you DIY your VDI, which I always enjoy saying. If that DIY does include the cloud, and you, like what I was talking about, look to a multi-cloud approach so you can leverage the most economical cloud for each workflow. And then maybe even more importantly, use a broker like Leostream so you can keep those runaway cloud costs in check. We've talked about this now. And then I'll mention really briefly, open source technologies. I know sometimes those can be scary to kind of look into, but you can minimize your costs even more if you start looking at open source technologies. Consider this one that I heard from someone the other day. More and more applications are moving to web-based UIs. So why are you investing in a full Windows desktop when ultimately the user is just accessing the web browser? Maybe you can use Linux and really simply connect the user to the web browser running on Linux, and that's going to save you some money right there. I guess the goal, I just want to kind of summarize this slide so we can move on and hear from Ron. I encourage you to get creative in what you use to build your VDI environment. But don't toss out the proverbial baby with the bathwater. If you want to save even more money, look for ways you can leverage what you already have, such as keeping your PC over IP0 clients and continuing to use those by using cloud access software inside of your stack. So with that, I'm going to move on and introduce Ron. It is my great pleasure to have him with us. Ron Cox is a senior system engineer and team lead at DuPoint. DuPoint is a Michigan-based MSP providing IT assessment, project management, digital transformation, and a range of tailored professional and managed services solutions. Ron had, I dare say, the enviable task of designing a new cloud-hosted way to deliver a VDI solution for his clients. Thankfully for us, Google led him to Leostream. So now I'm going to mute and let Ron tell his story. Ron?
All right, thank you, Karen. Yes, as she was saying, we had a customer that came to us and they decided they were going to move everything into AWS, and their current VM, they had VMware VDI environment on-prem in a data center. So they're closing their data center down and moving completely into AWS. So first thing, we went out and we talked to VMware and we're like, how much is it gonna cost to move it up there? And they have a 3-host minimum, and each host costs $50,000 a year to run. So that wasn't viable for the customer. So they said, hey, let's see if we can find something else. And we started doing research, and we stumbled upon Leostream, thankfully. And so the big thing was we were trying to reuse some of our infrastructure. As they pointed out earlier, we had Teradici 0 clients, and we found out you could use multiple things with this broker. Like, Karen was saying, you're not boxed into one thing. And so we contacted them. We spun up it's super simple. We spun up an instance within a couple hours, or a broker within a couple hours. We had pools spun up, and it was really fast and really easy. And so we did that, and we partnered it with Teradici because we already had those clients, and we spun those up with the Cloud Access Manager as they told us. And so we did all that. We had it up within a couple of days. We had a POC going within a week, and after that we started adding more and more users to it, and we've got maybe 10 more users left to add to it. It's been a smooth and it's an easy experience. As Karen was saying as well, we spin them up at 6 a.m. in the morning prior to anyone getting in, and then we spin them down at 8 o'clock at night, so we're not using compute. And security-wise, they're not vulnerable because they're not up after hours. There's nothing, it's a clean image. We're not running anything on there that we don't need to run. A lot of things these customers do are SaaS-based, as you're saying, web-based, and they've actually said that the experience has been better than the VMware environment that we had prior. I think that's kind of the success story. We had, like I said, we had a couple little hedges, but Leostream and Teradici were really quick to get with us and figure out just some small problems. A lot of it was kind of on our end with blocking of firewall stuff, but we figured that out. And I mean, it said, I can't say enough about how easy it is to deploy this out. And then we're looking at different ways with different people, like we're saying, our sales team, they may start working remote, so we may have them access through HTML5, and we're looking at experimenting with that. So there's so much flexibility with this product, with both products, and we love that we can do different things with it. And we're coming up with different ideas to do different ways and deploy it to different people and different things in different places all the time. So other than that, unless you have any other questions to me, that's kind of the big things that we went through. And like I said, we've been nothing but happy with both Teradici and Leostream.
No, thanks, Ron. That's awesome, and we've really enjoyed working with you and everybody there at DewPoint. We can't wait to see what the future brings for this, and thank you for sharing your story. So just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, just give you a little more kind of everybody on the line a little generic information about both the Leostream platform, and then Marella will tell you a little bit more about cloud access software. But essentially, most of the points that are on this slide you've heard before, but I am particularly proud of this first bullet, and Ron kind of highlighted it. With our Leostream 9 release, Leostream really is now easy to install and set up, and that, as much as our flexible feature set, makes Leostream a platform that's useful and usable really by anyone now. So you combine our ease of use with the fact that Leostream allows you to provide remote access from anywhere using either our gateway or Teradici security gateway, and to just about any on-premises public cloud environment you can want. And you have a platform now that really takes you above and beyond traditional VDI. If you watch one of our demos, and I invite you to sign up for one if you haven't done so already, then you know that we provide a comprehensive set of pool, plan, and policy options that really give you control over user access to your hosted resource. And even more, we track everything, so you always know who's using what, from where, for how long. And that level of tracking not only is great from a security standpoint, but it also gives you insight into your environment, so you know if pools are over or underutilized, and then you can adjust appropriately. And of course, all those features are wrapped up in a package that's a fraction of the cost of that full stack solution. So now on the other side of the equation, I hand you back to Marella.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll just summarize. The whole time as I was talking, I kept referring to cloud access software and PCRP technology. So essentially, cloud access software is the product that enables that delivery of Windows and Linux desktops and workstations to the end user. And like I said, it's very flexible. It can run on any public cloud, on-premises, virtualized, unvirtualized technologies. On the right there, there's the main 4 benefits why our customers use Teradici's technology, and a lot of them align really well with Leostream's benefits that Karen just went over. Number one is that we put a lot of effort around ensuring that users have really high performance and really good user experience when they're interacting with their desktop. We make sure that it feels like it's local, like it's under the desk. And this is from task workers to knowledge workers all the way to power users. For example, the media entertainment industry is a very difficult industry to solve when it comes to user experience based on the apps that they use. And this is an industry that TCRP technology is used quite a bit, and one reason is our focus on performance. The other one that aligns well with Leostream as well is ease of deployment, ease of installation. We also are very aware how complex, the full stack VDI can be when you install all the components, and it takes days and sometimes months to get it going. With design of Teradici class software, we make sure it's as easy as possible. It takes you hours rather than weeks and months. And another one is the flexibility in terms of multi-cloud, in terms of use cases. It can be Windows, Linux, different versions of Linux you can use, clients as well. You can choose 0 clients, software clients that are for Windows, Linux, Mac OS, mobile clients as well. So lots of choice and flexibility to whatever your business needs are. And security as well. We've designed our technology to be highly secure. The way the desktop is encrypted and only pixels are sent to the client device, never the data itself. So this is a big reason why it's used quite a bit in verticals like government and military as well. Okay, and that was the summary of what our software does.
All right. Well, thank you so much to all of our presenters today. I hope you guys enjoyed our presentation. I hope you learned a lot. So in terms of next steps, I do invite you to take a look at those resources that we attached in the handout section. I'd also like to invite you to trial both the Leostream and the Teradici products. You can reach out to either sales at Leostream, Teradici at Leostream, one or the other. We can always put you in touch with each other as well.